Hey, you guys ready to talk some baseball? Well, let's do a little baseball here. It could be our last 4-game slate of the year. Hanging out with G Rison, of course, DC. If we're doing baseball, DC is going to be here. G Rison, it was 9:58 me. So it was what, 11:58? And you said, does anybody drink yet? And there you go. What time did you start drinking, G Rison?
This right here will be the first sip. It's officially now 12:01 here in Michigan. So, you're not an alcoholic if you drink afternoon. So I'm good. I mean, I'm fully good. And, all I had to do was mention it. And my boy over here, DC, he was out of his chair before. I mean, he wasn't going to let me hang out the drive by myself. So my man over there's got himself a high noon. So you know what? It's high noon. It's time to go.
Cheers, buddy. Yeah. It's, this is, I think, the best baseball day of the year, maybe outside of opening day. 4 games back to back to back to back, 4 playoff games. And man, playoff baseball is just different, right? I absolutely love playoff baseball. It's a whole new ball game with, pitchers getting hooks early. You never know who's going to come out of the bullpen, all that good stuff. Coming off a couple of good days of DFS, took down the showdown last night, and excited for this slate today.
So what do we got up to lock here? 2:07 Eastern, that'd be 12:07. All right. So however long it takes us to get through 4 games is what we'll do. We're not going to sit
Probably not 2 hours, right?
We're definitely not doing it 2 hours. Right. That would be absolutely awful, especially with 4 games and G Rison taking off like right at the top of the hour. So no, we're not going to go and do a 2-hour show. G Rison, over under 40 minutes on today's show.
You know what? I mean, we could just I could probably turn up some topic that we're going to talk about and you guys would get long-winded. I mean, that's,
we'll get long-winded. Us, not you.
No, I don't ever talk. Big T always laughs and tells me that I talk more than anybody he knows, but
yeah, you do. That's good. That's
what
good.
Can you do?
Yeah. Couple things to let you know about the site here, Run Pure Sports. First of all, RPS Heater 25, full swing here for NFL. Also, I just got the schedule for NBA. And guess what? NBA, we're doing our shows. We've got the free show, and then we got the Up to Lock show. I'll be handling the Up to Lock show with a rotating cast of characters, including, I did see DC's going to do a little NBA, huh?
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Nice. All right. So we'll probably be doing a once a week with DC. Of course, our podcast will continue. G Rison, myself, Uncle T, and JT Hayes doing NFL work. I'm so knee deep. Like Stevie Boynton just makes fun of me. Like I do get off to the injury reports. It's amazing. We got the Friday news dump today. That's coming up at about 5:15. But so we got the old guys pod with me and G Rison and the boys. And then the young guy, I want to let everybody know the NFL spread pod's a good one too. Title, Rubio, and myself. So Title Town giving his midweek thoughts. It's kind of our first time when we really sit down and start carving up the NBA or the NFL schedule here. But we do have a 4-game slate in baseball, DC. I just want to throw something out on the pitching side. Chris Sale, 6.7. You've got Framber at 7.5, Giolito at 7.1. So you could go through the 8 pitchers here, but I do wonder if you can go Sale and Giolito today and just hope for the upside, or do you have to go a different direction?
Yeah, it's tough on this 4-game slate. I mean, I think you can make a reasonable case for all 8 pitchers. I really think all 8 guys are in play. I don't usually do, the 150 max, the MME thing. Today I did maxed out the 18 on DraftKings with 150 teams because I want exposure to most of these guys. And it is a fun slate to do that. When you've got the back-to-back games, you can kind of late swap, change things around depending on how the early games go. So I do think this slate is particularly built for, multiple entries. If you're just going, with one team or 3 teams, I have Charlie Morton ranked number 1, at least in terms of safety. I feel good about him. I think he's going to, have a long leash. The Braves don't have a great bullpen to pull him early. You look at some of these other guys, Chris Sale, I think could get a quick hook if things don't go well early in that game. I think you could see Shane Baz, who I really like, out early if things don't go his way. Same thing with Lucas Giolito. They've got Craig Kimbrell and Liam Hendricks both ready to go in the bullpen, which could, reduce his Giolito's leash if he's not pitching particularly well. So listen, a number of ways to go. My two favorite are Morton and Shane Baz for GPP. And then Corbin Burns, I do think, has the most upside of anybody, right? With the massive strikeout potential. So those are the three guys I have the most exposure to. Morton, Shane Baz of the Rays, who I really, really like his stuff, what I've seen from him as a rookie. And then Corbin Burns, I think, just has a huge amount of upside. I think by far the most likely to get 10 plus strikeouts on this slate is Corbin Burns.
All right. Very good. I like that. DC gave his pitchers. Boy, we're flying through this already, G Risen. So Corbin Burns, 9-1. He's the most expensive. Well, you know what? You're on FanDuel, so you can do your FanDuel thing. You big weenie. Charlie Morton, do we have to lock him in? I mean, if we're doing like 3 lineups today, how much Charlie Morton are you going to have, G Risen?
I mean, I do like Charlie Morton. I mean, just like DC said, today is tough. I mean, that's why they're all playoff teams. I mean, they're bringing out they all have good pitching, and a lot of these teams have really good bullpens. So when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, what managers really like to play more matchups? Like the Giants like to play a lot of matchups. The Rays like to play a lot of matchups. There's certain teams that just seem to move a lot more pieces than others. So, for me, I think that's what I'm kind of keeping in mind here, especially in these tight playoff games. I mean, this is a 5-game series, so you can't afford to go down 2-0 or 1-0, or, I mean, it's just short-lived. So Charlie Morton is interesting. I was actually looking, and I almost came to the theory that I'm not going to use any National League bat today. I was pretty much looking at all the American League bats. So with that being said, I like all the pitchers in the National League games. The Mortons, the Burns, the Buehlers, and the Webbs. I do like Shane Baz, especially for his price, as DC mentioned. But I'm just a little concerned that if they get down, the kid gets a little overwhelmed. He could get a short hook. But that's playoff baseball. So obviously, Baz could try to keep up pitch for pitch with Sale. I think they're going to be at home. The momentum's going to be with them, the crowd. So I think that's going to come into play. So I do like when there's matchups like that. Like I've said, almost all season, like when you get a kid like that's going up against such an ace like a Chris Sale. I mean, he's probably maybe next to Walker Buehler, probably one of the bigger names if you just were to look on paper. So, I mean, this kid's looking, I get to face Chris Sale in a playoff game. I'm sure he's jacked up. So I don't mind Baz at all, but the way it's looking on FanDuel, Corbin Burns, I think, is a guy. I'm going to play my normal 3 lineups today, and I'm probably going to have Corbin Burns in 2 of them, and I may have Shane Baz in the 1.
You mentioned the potential quick hook for Shane Baz, and I do agree with you. If he's not pitching well, I mean, he could be out in an inning or 2, right? I think that's well within the possibility. But I will say, if he's not pitching well, you're not winning anything with him anyway, right? So worrying about the quick hook, I don't know if it makes a ton of sense, because listen, the 8 good pitchers, we're going to get big scores out of, I think, at least 2 of these guys, right? Probably. And so if Shane Baz, to get pulled after an inning or 2, he would probably have to be in the negative DraftKings points to get that hook. And at that point, you're not getting to the top no matter what. So from a tournament standpoint, I get the worry that he might come out early, but I'm just not sure it really affects your chances to win a tournament if he gets pulled early, because you weren't winning with him anyway, right? If he's not pitching well. So I just think when you look at it that way and you're trying to get all the way to the top of a big tournament, I just don't know if it's that much of a concern for me.
I mean, I look at his pitch count though. So I mean, at 51, 82, and 65 pitches.
Yeah, he did go 92 in his last minor league start before they called him up. So, I mean, I think he's capable of it, right? I think if he's cruising like McClanahan was last night, I bet they let him go 5. And I bet I could see him getting to 90 pitches here. Again, that's the best case scenario, of course.
Yeah, I could.
Okay.
I could see that.
Anything else pitching wise, guys? Again, there's just only 8 of them. So I kind of feel like we went through everything when it comes down to it. So hit the like button. There are a few of you that are watching this morning. That's awesome. But it's kind of like a pop-up baseball show. This 4-game slate really is awesome. Like button would be nice. The little red thing in the bottom right-hand corner. I have a feeling we've got a ton of viewers right now that are already subscribed to our YouTube channel. But if you aren't, that subscribe button with the little sideways triangle, I highly recommend you do that. You get all of our videos, and our NFL content is just kicking it up. And later on today, 5:15 Eastern, weekend news dump, me, Bobby Gomes, and Tambo. We're going to run through all the injuries, all the injury reports, and let you know how that affects your DFS lineups this weekend. So good stuff there. Offense, G Rising, since DC went with pitching, let's just go game by game and team by team. Let's start with the White Sox. Your thoughts about the White Sox going up against a little, Framber and a left-hander today. We like that, don't we?
Yeah. Just real quick before we get to this game here, you guys mentioned football. I was just thinking we got us a big battle between the coordinators this week, huh? A little matchup, a little coordinator battle royal. Looking forward to that. So
I'm a little disappointed, to be honest with you. Uncle T turned down my head-to-head matchup in this. Yeah. Can you believe it?
Why would
Hoop told me to go straight to Big T to force him to take this head-to-head in our coordinators free roll. But yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a guy that is not acting like a man? It's Uncle T right now.
Man, that is just disappointing to hear.
Yeah.
You know, as an elder statesman with the Uncle T, I am surprised that he backed down from, hey, to each his own. Maybe he caught him on a bad day. Maybe he didn't have enough candy cigarettes.
3 different days I've asked him. And
he don't want no part of Holden. He don't want any of Holden. That's okay.
He doesn't. And that was the whole thing. I think he'll be so embarrassed if I beat him. But ultimately, I'm just a better DFS player than him. So Uncle T, my father figure, is not setting a nice example, G Rising. So let's go, Mr. Modelo. What do we want to do with the White Sox today? How do we attack this lineup?
Yeah, I do like like I said, coming in here, I like the American League bats today for some reason. It just seems like, I think the matchups are a little bit better for everybody. I mean, you're looking at this White Sox team. I like Grandel in the spot they're in today. I mean, he's popping in the 4-hole. I do like actually both sides of this game. I think you could look at like an Altuve. He's a pretty good play today. Just kind of bouncing around here. You got Alex Bregman. I mean, yes, we got some tough pitching matchups, but I'm just kind of looking at, what teams I think are going to score some runs. I think you're going to get some runs like we saw yesterday. Astros put up, I believe, 6. So, I mean, Correa's been hitting the ball. Tucker's been hitting the ball. I just like this lineup here, actually, with Houston. And then you look over on the other side, and then you got some lefty killers over there too. So, Abreu and Robert, whatever you guys want to call him. I call him Robert, but
you can just call him Robert. That's his name, Louis Robert.
I know we've discussed that a few times. So
that's Mangone thing. Don't worry about it. Mangone's just hooked up on watching, just looking for a link in the internet, listening to some Spanish guy say a word. Come on.
So, I mean, there's just so many decent bats here. It's not like any of them are jumping off the page, but you know what? I mean, it's playoff baseball time, and I think certain teams seem to stand out. I think you got the Astros. The Astros are just when it comes playoff time, I mean, it just seems like they're just constantly just turning that lineup over. They're a good team. I can't take it away from them. I like both sides of this thing here. I actually am going to mix up probably the Astros, White Sox, and Rays in my lineups, and I'm just going to go from there.
Astros, White Sox, and Rays. All right, so we'll get to DC now as we look at the White Sox. And then, you know what, just take the Astros here. Who are we picking out in this White Sox lineup in particular, DC? And then how do we attack Giolito on the Houston side?
Yeah, so the White Sox... I'm not on either of these pitchers, Framber, Giolito, playing 150. I excluded both of these guys. I think I have every other starting pitcher in my pool other than these two. So I do like this game for offense. From the White Sox side, though, it's mostly just fading Framber because the ground ball rate for him is just absurd. One of the highest ground ball rates in baseball. You've got a good infield defense there, and I think from a DFS perspective, both the White Sox bats and Framber could not get there. So I do like Luis Robert, kind of that middle of that lineup, right? Robert, Abreu, Grandal, Eloy. Those are the four guys that I would play against Framber. And then from the Astros, they are my favorite offense today. They were my favorite offense yesterday as well. I just don't think, like, Giolito's a good pitcher, right? High strikeout guy. But this Astros lineup is so contact oriented. And Giolito gives up a lot of hard contact when he does get hit. He wasn't quite the same pitcher after the sticky stuff enforcement that we saw, around midseason. And I think the Astros are going to square him up pretty good in this game. So I don't think Giolito, he's probably my least favorite pitcher of the 8 guys. And I think this Astros team is going to do damage. I think you can go to pretty much anyone in this lineup. I think they're all decent plays. My 2 favorites are the lefties, Alvarez and Kyle Tucker. But, I think you can really go anywhere here. I do like the Astros as the number 1 stack today. One thing that they will probably have to face, though, is those elite relievers coming out of the White Sox pen, particularly Liam Hendricks. I think might get 2 innings here. If you're looking to get really weird in DFS, I think you can actually play him. He could give you 2 innings, 5 strikeouts, maybe get a win. That's a must-win game, right, for the White Sox, and he's their best pitcher.
That's a 150 strategy, though, right? I mean,
yeah, it is, but you could do it, I think, in single entry if you want to, get real risky and have a 1% player, and then you can, afford all the big bats. Like, I think there's a viability to that. But yeah, give me the Astros bats overall. I think they're going to do the most damage of any team on the slate.
Okay. Rise, would you like to say anything final about this game, or do we move on?
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at some bullpen. So September 1st, Houston's bullpen has not been that good. I think they got almost 13% walk rate, if I'm not mistaken, which is like one of the worst in the major leagues. So that's a little concerning for Houston. And then too, I was looking at Giolito, because we all know Houston smashes fastballs. So I was just kind of looking to see what percent of fastballs that Giolito's been throwing. I mean, he's just throwing 3 pitches, fastball, changeup, and a slider. And I think the Astros actually been pretty good against the off-speed pitches.
Well, I think the Astros are so patient. I think they can lay off the slider, and then you're just talking fastball, changeup to these guys. And, I just think they're going to square up those pitches. You know what I mean? Like, they looked locked into me yesterday, and we know the Astros, yes, all the cheating stuff, you can talk about that, but like, this team is strong in the postseason. They're healthy right now, and they're at home, and the White Sox are kind of reeling a little bit, right? After that loss. I have a good feeling about the Astros today.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree.
All right, very good. I mean, yesterday was spectacular for them. Like, Jordan, why are we even pitching to this dude?
I just think Giolito is going to have to battle through every one of these hitters, and they're going to get him. They're going to get him in those first 3 or 4 innings. They really think so.
And one other thing, I just looked up day games at Minute Maid Park in the last few years is in the top of Major League Baseball for runs during the day.
Interesting.
Okay. So we'll move on to our next game. But first, let me let you know, RPS Heater 25. So for those of you watching, mostly subscribers, but if you haven't subscribed yet, if the NFL Content Spectacular, our coordinators were mostly on the Chiefs game last week, and I think the Eagles too. And obviously both those went off. So a very good week for a lot of our members because they tailed the coordinators. RPS Heater 25% off your first payment. NBA is coming up. I just looked at the schedule. It is going to be huge. So we got our free show is coming back this year. And then we'll do the Up to Lock. Me and JSU. Tony will be on. DC's going to do some work here. So a lot of this is one of the busier times of year for us.
And hockey. We got Matty Ice. We got our guys with the hockey too. Yeah. So I mean, hockey's starting up in a few days. I know. So that's also exciting.
The hockey team's good too. So again, it's exciting stuff. Let's go to the next game though. Atlanta, Milwaukee. I know what your thoughts are, G Rising on the bats today. DC, How are we attacking this game, if anything, from the offense?
Yeah, not much for me here. I have Morton as my number one guy, and then Burns not far behind there too. So I'm on the pitching here. If I'm going to the Braves, it's going to be the two guys that can hit from the left side at the top of the lineup. Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, I think are both good plays if you're fading Burns on any teams. But I'm mostly sticking to those two guys, and then I actually don't have any Brewers at all. Full fade for me. Listen, I'm just on Morton. I think he's going to pitch well, and I don't love the prices or the potential performance of these Brewers guys.
Okay. I know what you think about this, G Risen, but if you were to pick and choose on a couple of guys, who would they be? One-offs.
Well, I will say, I mean, if you want some leverage, I think both these guys probably are going to get some ownership. So if you don't play one or the other and wanted some leverage and you want to throw in a one-off, like looking at just pulling up some BVP numbers. I mean, Yelich is 6 for 15 off of Morton. That's something. I mean, that's decent enough sample size for me.
Christian Yelich, come on. When's the last time you played Christian Yelich, G-Rising?
You're right, but I'm just looking at the line here. And then also you look down at Burns. Swanson is 4 for 5 with 2 dongs off him. So that's interesting. Jock Peterson, too, is 4 for 9 with a homer off him. So I'm just saying, if you're going to play a one-off, I'd use a guy that has some home run potential. I think there's a couple guys there we mentioned for the Braves. Definitely could have some potential, but even if I do play Burns and he gives up a solo shot and strikes out 9-10, I could care less.
Yeah,
so
of course,
that obviously could happen. I think that is.
You're right. Come on. If he gets 9 or 10 strikeouts, he's probably going to be the SP1. Of course, you're not going to care about the solo shot.
Absolutely. But I'm just saying, if he gives up a solo shot and, if he had I'm not saying to use the one off against your pitcher today. I think there's too many games for that, but I think if you did use a one-off, you didn't use Burns, and he still did have a great game, and you got that home run. I mean, that guy's going to be low owned. So, I mean, I guess that's the point I was trying to make. I think you can still get a decent one-off if you get it, but you're fishing for the home run, in my opinion. So,
what Burns' biggest weakness as a pitcher is holding runners on base. He's given up 18 steals, 18 for 20 are base stealers against Burns this year. Again, on a 4-game slate with 8 good pitchers, right? We're trying to find any little edge that we can. So Ozzie Albies in particular, I think will almost certainly be running if he gets an opportunity, right? If he gets on first base in that first inning with nobody in front of him, I think he'll take off in the first couple pitches on Corbin Burns. So that's a nice little edge there. Unfortunately, the Braves, they don't have a lot of speed in that lineup overall, right? It's mostly just Albies, obviously Acuna injured. But yeah, Dansby Swanson, another guy that could steal a base here. So if you're looking to get a little bit different against Burns, maybe those two guys, Albies in particular, I think is a strong play if you're not on Burns.
So the Yelich thing's interesting. What is he, 3-3 on DraftKings? And he's just had a dog crap season. But it's almost like, here we go. It's a new season. It's the playoffs. I've seen players just turn it on and the switch flips, but we're not looking that way against Yelich today against Morton, huh?
I have no problem with it. He's super cheap. Did he pick it up a little bit at the end of the season? Maybe a little bit. Nine home runs on the season for Christian Yelich. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't playing him. I quit Christian Yelich like back in May, so I haven't been following super close.
I agree
okay.
with that.
I got you.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the next game then, and we're back to the American League. So, G Risen, Boston, and Tampa Bay, and we'll start on the Boston side. DC was saying he likes Baz a little bit. Devers, I just don't know how we fade Devers. I know he's a little banged up, but still, Schwarber's got to be in the mix. So many of these guys. Talk to me about the Red Sox in particular. I don't even want to get to the Tampa Bay side yet.
Yeah, the Reds, I mean, they're definitely interesting, the Red Sox here. I mean, you mentioned Devers. I mean, he's in play. I think you can play, like I said, I'm looking at these American League bats today. I think Kyle Schwarber, who's probably in that 2-hole, is a really good play. I like Schwarber. I think, though, with the offenses, I think with Boston, I may just pick one-offs or maybe have a mini stack. I don't think I'm going to full stack the Red Sox just because I do like Shane Baz probably the most of the American League 4 pitchers. So, yeah, I think Schwarber is probably my top play here for the Red Sox as like a one-off, like I said. But I don't mind Devers. But like you said, he's banged up a little bit, but Schwarber for me is my guy who's standing out.
Okay. Just so you know, Shane Baz, it's the lowest amount of regular season appearances for a pitcher. He tied Matt Moore, who did it back in 2011. He has 3 regular season appearances heading into today. So that's it. He's got the great stuff. The question is the moment going to be too big for him? We've seen it on both sides so far.
None of the Red Sox have seen this kid.
Yeah.
None of them.
Yeah. Again, it comes down to how tight his butt gets, is he freaking out? If he's freaking out, it's not going to be a good day. If he's got his stuff, then it's going to be a good day. So DC, the Boston side.
I'm curious about something.
Yeah. I mean, Baz has just been spectacular. 3 levels this year. He pitched at AA, AAA, and MLB above 12 Ks per 9 at all 3 levels. The one weakness he has had is gives up some home runs, right? He throws a lot of fastballs, 97, 98, but he'll challenge hitters. And, major league hitters, you square those up sometimes. So it's the guys with power here, particularly Schwarber and Devers. I think the 2 that you want to look at, swinging from the left side against Baz. You can go to Renfroe and JD Martinez and Bogarts and all those guys too, but it is the lefties that I want against Shane Baz. But again, I'm in on Shane Baz here. I'm a huge believer in what he's doing. I expect him to pitch well. He just saw his rookie teammate, right? McClanahan pitch well. He's at home here still. If this was in Fenway Park, no thanks. I'd be on the Red Sox side of this one, but in Tampa, yeah, give me Baz and the Rays. And then from the Rays side of the ball offensively, it's the same guys as yesterday. It's the right-handed power that you want against this team. We saw Arozarena, Cruz, Wander Franco, all 3 of those guys had big games. I think they do it again. Chris Sale, he's been fine, but he just hasn't been quite the same guy that we saw back in his prime. I think the Rays will get him here, especially that right-handed power. Sale, I do think at 6,700 to go back to pitching, I do think he's got a lot of upside, right? Like if he's rolling, it's not like the Red Sox have some elite relievers that they're dying to get to. So if Chris Sale is cruising here, and he absolutely could, right? He's still got great stuff. I wouldn't be surprised to see him emerge as the top scoring pitcher on this slate, but I do like the Rays side of this one overall. So, again, I think both pitchers are in play. I like the Rays offense. And I think I was on the Rays and the Astros yesterday. I'm going right back to it. I think these teams both go up 2-0. 2 of my favorite stacks are the Rays and the Astros. And, I guess we'll just see what happens. It's a tough slate. It could go a lot of different directions, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I find it fascinating here with the Arozarena, G. Rison. The dude's stealing home. The dude's stealing.
He's a playoff monster, man.
That was awesome
at this point.
That's got some guys just like Reggie Jackson. Love getting October. He'd crush the baseball. That's what he did. Arozarena, small sample, but it's starting to get bigger, and this guy just turns it on. G. Rison. DC, I know you want to say something. And here's another Rays player that just comes into the postseason. Not a lot of regular season experience, like Arozarena, and then he goes off. This organization's easily the most fascinating, maybe all of sport, all the major sports. How these guys get it done.
I like watching the Rays play. If you ask, I think the Rays are one of the most well-rounded baseball teams I think I've seen.
I wish we didn't have to watch them in that stadium, but
right, yeah.
Can I tell you something about that stadium too? Because I've been to playoff games there. When you're in there, it's not bad. They actually get loud. There's cowbells, but it's so unaesthetically pleased. It's just awful. It just looks awful on TV. It's a cool
Nelson
place.
Cruz home run was impressive. Yeah.
Even walking up to it doesn't even seem right to me.
No, they need to go to Montreal. Just get them out of here and go to Montreal already. That'll be fun.
Well, I mean, you'd break Dickie V's heart. I see Dick Vitale all the time. He's like the only Rays fan you see on anywhere, but
he'll be okay.
Yeah, I think Tampa, when I saw that highlight of him stealing home last night, I actually was like, yeah, that's awesome. Got like a cheer out of me. If I saw that live, it was just, how many times did you see that? Stealing home in a playoff game? That's incredible. But
Jackie Robinson. I mean,
right? I mean, yeah. Well, the last time that happened, the TV was black and white, and we were.
I have
watching
not. No,
still
it's had to
shots.
have happened before, right?
Sometimes the players will get credit for stealing home with there's like a runner on first who takes off and then they steal when they throw down. This is just like a straight steal of home. Freaking badass by Rosarino.
It was too. And then the funny part is in the video, you hear the announcer go, and here he goes. And then you see the catcher stand up like, oh shit. And then he slides in. You're like, oh my God, he stole home.
Just such a crazy move to pull off to try to beat the pitch home, just wild.
But if you watch the pitcher, it was like he looks away and he was like looking up for a minute and he just timed it perfectly and went. I was like, that's some balls too.
That's the only way to make it. Yep.
But that's what? Great point in the chat from Sean Hunter. They don't even hard to believe they don't even have glass now too, and it's a nonstop.
Imagine if they had glass now at the peak of his powers.
It's amazing.
Man, I forgot about Glass now.
I know. He's amazing too.
Right. But I will say though today, in this game, man, a guy like Mike Zunino is a guy you could throw in your lineup. He's probably going to be at the bottom. Hardly anybody's going to play him. I like him against lefties, and he's got some pop. So I don't mind a Mike Zunino to kind of differentiate yourself with a stack. If you do decide to go Tampa, I think he's a guy that you should strongly consider.
Okay. So we got 119 watching, 58 likes. Let's try and get to 75 today. I know it's a smaller crowd. Those of us that have been grinding baseball all year, and now we got a 4-game slate. So that's nice. Hit the like button though. Give us a little love. And then the subscribe button is in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're looking at the screen, sideways triangle, it's red, and hit it. And then you'll get all our videos and they'll let you know when our videos are up. All right. Last game here to get through. Doyers, Giants. Is there a late night hammer here? DC, and what kind of ownership, first of all, do you think we're getting on these two teams tonight? Bueller and Webb. Oof.
I think this game will be one of the lower owned games overall. San Francisco, obviously a tough environment to hit. You've got two very strong starting pitchers on the mound, two good bullpens, right? They didn't play yesterday, so they're fairly rested. You do see, interestingly, if you look at K props, strikeout props, kind of low on Walker Buehler. The number 4.5, it is juiced to -165, but that's a pretty low number for Walker Buehler, even with the juice. Clearly some concern that maybe they take him out, right? They got a very strong bullpen, Blake Trinan, Kenley Jansen, Gruderall, or whatever his name is.
Gratterall.
Great. Yeah. Is great. So I could see if Walker Buehler's having any trouble here, the Dodgers go to that bullpen early. I prefer Logan Webb to Buehler. I've been a Logan Webb fan. Holden, that you've been on the show a lot with me when he's been pitching for the last month and a half, and it says a lot that he's getting the ball here against the Dodgers to open the series. I think he'll pitch well. I still, I listed the Dodgers as my third favorite stack, just because it's such a strong lineup, right? Like they can get to any pitcher, and they could do it to Logan Webb too. But I like Webb here. If you're going to the Dodgers bats, my favorites basically at the top of the lineup, right? Corey Seager, Trey Turner. I think the two guys that you want to focus in on. I do have Will Smith though as the number one catcher on this slate as well, so that's a direction you can certainly go. He hits right-handed pitching very well. Obviously, Webb throws from the right side, and then from the Giants, I don't have a ton of exposure. I mean, all the pinch hit risk is concerning, right? I think almost everyone in this lineup outside of Buster Posey and Brandon Crawford are risks to get removed from this game early, which isn't where I want to go personally. But I do like Crawford quite a bit in particular, and then Posey some as well.
Okay. So G Risen, I know you don't like the bats here, but why don't you talk with it? You know what? Before you do that, we do have the Atlanta lineup. Let me just read off the Atlanta lineup, then get to the Dodgers and Giants. So nothing surprising here. Soler, Freeman, Albies, Riley, Duvall, Rosario, Darno, Swanson, pitcher. Okay. Dodgers, Giants, Mr. G Risen, some one-offs here, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this game, You're right. I don't like too many of the bats, but I do say one thing I do like the most are the Giants on the money line to win this game. I think the Giants are going to win this game easily. Actually, I think they're going to beat them 3-4-1, 5-1, something like that. I think the Dodgers just had a huge emotional game. Obviously, walk off homer by Taylor to get where they are. I think they scratched and clawed through that one. I think their asses got a little tight on that. I think they were a little worried about that there. So I just think the Giants have been sitting there. They've been waiting for the Dodgers. They're built to beat the Dodgers. They got lefties in their bullpen. I think the Giants are in a good spot here. So I really like the Giants, but you're talking about maybe some one-offs like DC said it. The Giants play so many matchups here. It is tough. It's tough to say, like some guys that you might want to use. I mean, like a Brandon Crawford's interesting, but like DC said, you're only going to get 2 or 3 at bats out of them. You got.
Yeah, well, it's just like the other 7 teams. We have 3 lineups out right now. I think I could have predicted what they would roll out there for a lineup, very accurately for maybe not the Brewers, but like Giants, we don't even know what lineup they're going to have, like that's just the kind of team they are. Crawford's going to be there. Posey's going to be in the other. You think the lefties like Listella and Wade, but not even for sure. So, and then it's just, those guys could be removed at any time. You're going to see the Dodgers have a mostly right-handed bullpen. So I think those lefties are maybe a little bit safer than they otherwise might be, but man, talk about, you get to the last game of the slate, you're trying to chase down a GPP win, and your guy gets removed in the 4th inning for a pinch hitter, and you're just like, oh, like that's the Giants for you, right?
Yeah, that is what I think. Like I said, I think the Giants and the Rays, those are 2 teams in this playoffs right now that move pieces around more than anybody else. And I mean, the Giants are a nightmare matchup for anybody. As we know, they're one of the best hitting teams on the road. Yes, they're at home today, but I mean, they can hit. They play situational baseball really well. The Dodgers are going to have to be on their A game here to get by this series. If I'm a Dodger fan, and I know Captain, here with Run Pure, he's a big Dodger fan. And, this is the first time I believe these 2 have ever played in a playoff series, which I thought was odd.
In the West Coast.
In the West Coast. Okay, fair enough.
Because remember what you had that big walk-off home run back, like one of the greatest, was it Bobby Thompson, I think?
Yeah, you're right. Robbie Thompson. Yeah, Bobby Thompson. Yeah, I think you're right.
Robbie Thompson was with the Giants later. He was the little white dude, but yeah. So anyways, let me just say this, G Rising, about this series. So the Yankees and the Red Sox, they've met so many times in the playoffs too, that they don't like each other, but I have never been to a rivalry with more like carnage. There's fights at Dodger Stadium. There's fights in the park.
Hasn't there been people like stabbed and murdered at these games?
Yeah, they murder people at these games.
Yeah, I think you're right. Wasn't that last year or something?
They use their Dukes in Boston and New York. Out there, they'll set you on fire. There's fights in the stadium. Out of this is blood. This is a blood feud, man. And here we got a comment in the chat. They're like, G Rise would normally agree with you, but not today. The Dodgers ain't coming in unfocused against their greatest rival. I'm with you.
I didn't say they'd be unfocused. I just said that they had it's an up-down thing, right? I mean, it's such an emotional high that they were on.
Yeah.
Now they're got to settle in. The Giants been sitting there waiting for them. I don't know. I think that matters. I think they're going to have a hard time today.
Okay. That's why you're here. We need your opinion on this. So anything else, G Rising? Game, slate, before we get out of here?
No, I'm just really excited. Like DC said, it's one of the best days of the year. We got baseball starting in literally an hour and a half. We get to sit there all day and watch some great playoff baseball. Every pitch matters. All the fans are going nuts. And, with the day we got starting out, and we got that great Giant game and Dodger game to cap it off. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun.
Oh boy. All right. Let's DC final thoughts on this.
One of your girlfriends dump you, or what happened there? You didn't look too happy with that text.
Nah, I think the girl I'm seeing just lost her job, which, I'll have to console her.
Oh yeah. See, yeah, there you go. Look at that smirk on his face. DC.
You can ask Uncle Hoop for a raise, and you can support her while she looks for a new job. That'll be good.
Yeah. She's not living with me. Anyways, go on, DC.
He's like, no.
I must say it is the only good thing about it is it's liberating. Like you don't have to worry about anybody bothering you. You know,
Yeah.
I can just watch all the sports.
And, yeah, and you don't have to take showers for like 3 straight days. You know,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I'm working
Holden.
on
Holden seems like a 2 shower a day type of guy, though.
No, Holden looks like a 2 shower a week guy.
A week. Yeah, usually 4 showers a week. And the summertime's an everyday thing, though. You can't walk around without a shower in the summertime. That's just bad hygiene. All right, DC. I don't even know where you should go from here. Just, pick it up. Final thoughts.
I will say occasionally I'll run like 10 plus miles and not shower that day, which is just gross. So
really? Why would you do that?
I don't know. I'm disgusting.
You ever get like jock itch from that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
it's swamp ass.
The only thing I'll add that I don't think we've covered just from a strategy standpoint on this slate, I personally, maybe some people would disagree with this, but I personally think, listen, on a 10 or 12 game baseball slate, stacking, right, a 5-man stack on DraftKings, I think is probably the way to go to give yourself the best chance to get to the top of the tournament. I don't think that's the case on a 4-game slate for the playoffs. I think it's more important to have a hitter or two against pitchers that you don't have in your lineup, right? So if you don't have Shane Baz, you want to have Schwarber or Devers or whoever it is you're on. If you don't have Morton, maybe you have Yelich or, whoever it may be, to try to get, because like if those pitchers aren't going to be in the optimal, especially the high strikeout guys, probably someone's going to do some damage with the long ball, right? And so you got to try to pick out the 1 or 2 bats against every pitcher that you don't have in each particular lineup to try to get that leverage. I think that's more important than stacking. I think it's hard to, only have hitters from 2 games on this 4-game slate and get to the top, because I think there's just going to be damage done to every pitcher that's not in the optimal. And the goal is to try to pick out which batter or 2 that will be.
And you know what, Holden, just to kind of go on, I think it's a good point DC's making. But to me, too, like when you're sitting and you're looking at, when you want to build your team, I think FanDuel and DraftKings are going to be way different with the ownership with the pitchers, because on DK, Baz is the lowest price pitcher. So I think Baz may get a lot more ownership as like an SP2 on DK, to where I think when you get to FanDuel, you're going to see more of Morton, Burns, and stuff like that on the 1 pitcher site. But I think the 2 pitcher site DK, I'm actually playing on both sites today, and I normally don't, but I had a really good night in Showdown last night on the football and end up winning a couple grand. So I'm going to play some baseball today over on DK.
We'll spend it all in one place, G-Rising.
Yeah. I'm going to save some for some football, but I'm going to whoop all your guys' ass in the coordinator.
You loaded up on Modelo's and you're putting the rest back into play. All right. I like that.
Yeah, that's how you do it. You got to have beer for the weekend and let's roll. So, but I just think Baz is going to be higher owned, I guess is my point. So, using a Schwarber and a guy like that, I think is more, valuable than on DK than on FanDuel, just because I think Baz is going to be higher owned on DK.
I can't believe you're playing DK. I mean,
you play FanDuel once in a while, don't you? See, I like to play Showdown.
Football,
on
I
DK.
play FanDuel. Yeah, football.
I like to play Showdown on DK just because I think there's not as many ways to tie. I mean, obviously, I think DK has a better platform for Showdown. So, yeah, I like the DK Showdown. But whenever I got money in there, it's like I got to spend it. I got to spend it. So you're like a cracky over here. You know how it is.
Smoke your crack before noon? I mean, what the hell, G-Rising?
Hey, gotta have another brew.
Yeah, and I'm the one getting abused in the comments section on our podcast, that I'm the one with the substance abuse problem. I think they meant G-Rising. Before noon, chugging Modelo's and smoking crack. Oh,
I haven't smoking crack, but I did have a safety meeting.
This morning?
Yeah. Yeah, we got to keep the neighborhood safe. We talk about,
G-Rising, you are one of a kind, my friend. Okay, RPS Heater 25% off your first payment. Remember, first monthly payment for that subscription. And then just remember, we got a lot of content coming up, 5:15 today, Eastern time, 5:15 Eastern, weekend news dump. We'll look at all the injury reports. Christian McCaffrey has a chance to play, although that could be a little iffy. Joe Mixon not looking great. So a lot of stuff to get to in the weekend news dump. Make sure you're there with that. And then Sunday morning, I don't even know what time our Sunday morning show starts. It's so early, but it's early in the morning.
I think it's 10.
That's what?
Isn't it 10? 10 a.m. Eastern?
I don't know.
Maybe a little earlier for you.
Yeah, I think that's the Wood show. I don't know. But anyways, you wake up on Sunday, it works. Right.
8:45.
8:45. 8:45?
8:45.
8:45. And then like 10, we got the Wood show. And then like 11:30. Yeah, we got the Up to Lock. Beautiful. G Rising, DC, wonderful to see you. I'm Holden, Helmet Head. Get us out of here, please.